A good afternoon and a very warm springtime Eastertide. Welcome to Trinity Cathedral. We're so delighted that you're here to share some of this extraordinarily beautiful weather with us this week and today. And today we start a little series of 6 programs that will be our last 6 for the BrownBag series this spring. Honoring the music of Johann Sebastian Bach. And springtime is as good a time as any to do that, certainly. Probably a year ago, maybe even a little more, Andrew Sords, one of our good friends and a frequent BrownBag performer, we're always kicking around ideas for future programs, and he said, what about, having the 6 sonatas or partitas for solo violin, each one played by a different violinist. That'd be a wonderful series. And so finally we're making it happen here in these 6 weeks. And the violin pieces are, between 15 and 20 minutes. And Bach liked things in 6s. He wrote a number of pieces, or a number of groups of pieces that he'd write 6 of something or other. That was, for whatever reason, a number that worked very often for him. So he happened to write 6 trio sonatas for the organ as well. And these are all about 15 minutes long. So the combination of the solo violin pieces and the solo organ pieces make a really lovely noontime program. They complement each other, I think, beautifully. So let me just say a few words about the organ trio sonatas, and then Mari's going to speak a bit about the E Major Partita before she plays. But Bach wrote these 6 trio sonatas in the late 1720s, most people think between 1727 and 1730. So Bach would have been 45 in 1730. So Bach was in his early 40s, and his eldest son, Wilhelm Friedemann, would have been he would have been 20 in his early 20s. So getting ready to go out into the big wide world on his own. And one of the reasons that Bach wrote these 6 organ trio sonatas was as sort of a finishing school for Friedemann. And Friedemann was a very talented musician, one of several of Bach's children who went out to be successful as musicians in their own right. So Bach wrote these sonatas and had Friedemann work on them and said, if you can play these, I think you're good to go. And that holds true pretty much today, just as it did in Bach's time. So there are 6 of them. They're all 6 in different keys. He didn't write any 2 in the same key. And they, as usual with Bach, they're ingenious. Some of them involve reworkings of previous music written for other idioms, and some of them are brand new music written especially for this set of 6 trio sonatas. So we're going to start. It so happens that our music today, I think, complements the weather outside rather perfectly, in that these are both pieces in major keys. We have the trio in C major and the violin partita in E major, a really nice bright key. So they're perfect springtime pieces, I think. And all of the trio sonatas for organ are in 3 movements. These are chamber music. You could imagine them being played by, say, a solo violinist and maybe a flutist with the 2 top melodies and a cello player for the bass line. And it's the organist's job to play those with 1 part in each hand and 1 part in the pedal. And it always seems like that should be a rather easy job. You're only playing 1 note in each hand and 1 note at a time in the pedal. But it's rather like juggling 3 balls or doing this plus 1 more thing, It ain't as easy as it sounds, and it requires a lot of focus and a lot of poise and some practice and all that. So Bach knew what he was doing in setting this challenge for his oldest son. As I said, they're all in 3 movements, and the C major one certainly follows that mold. The outer movements tend to be on the more rapid and solid side. The inner movements are all very beautiful, more lyric and a little more spacious and slow-paced, and that is certainly the case with the middle movement of this C major trio sonata. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Most people think the first movement here was a reworking of an earlier piece written for probably some instrumental combination, and the Largo and the concluding Allegro are brand new for this trio sonata. They're not any kind of reworking of previous works. So that gives you a little bit of insight about that, and I want to make sure and thank, for one thing, the Ohio Arts Council, who gave us a nice little grant that is helping to cover the expenses of these 6 concerts. Above and beyond that, I want to thank our dear friend, choir member, and general supporter of all things musical around here, Bradley Upham, who is also helping to sponsor today's concert. You'll find in your program, or maybe our wonderful usher, Bob Smith, gave to you this little partial sheet. Every so often, and we haven't done this since way before the pandemic, we like to take a little survey of audience thoughts and ideas and this, that, and the other. So if you would do us the great favor of filling out this survey and just leave them on the table over here on your way out, it's very helpful to us to sort of take the temperature of things. So we thank you in advance for participating in that. And we won't pass the plates in between things, but we'll have the basket over there. And as always, we're deeply grateful for your support in terms of anything you could put in the basket. So I think that takes care of everything that I need to say. The other 5 upcoming programs are on the back of your program here, and you can see what's coming up. Next week, we have a D minor week, the famous violin partita in D minor, which concludes with the mighty Chaconne, one of Bach's towering pieces. It's going to be played by Zhan, a wonderful violinist from the Cleveland Orchestra, and the organ trio sonata there is one in D minor, so we're going to have 2 pieces in the same key next week. But I want to also thank my dear friend and colleague, Mari Sato, for playing today. Mari's one of the great violinists around here and a wonderful human being, and many of you have heard her play in various venues before. She's a great teacher, and she will say a little bit about the E Major Partita before she plays. So we'll get down to business. Yes, Judy. 1 back there. Yep. No, you see this screen that's set up here? You're going to be able to see me through the wonder of technology, and the great thanks to our friend Sam Hubish, who's back there, sort of the man behind the screen, and Sam does everything here. We are so grateful to Sam and his endless time and help with things technical. So he's got a camera set up in the back there. This is our wonderful Flentrop organ that was installed here in 1977. So it's amazingly coming up near 50 years old, which is still a rather shocking thought to me. But it's a beautiful organ. It's meant to play music like this. So all of these trio sonatas this week be played back there, but Sam has it hooked up so you're going to be able to see me on the screen here. So just settle back, and for better or for worse, you'll be able to see me on the screen.
part of this wonderful project. I want to thank Trinity Cathedral and Todd Wilson and Andrew Sords for dreaming up this wonderful idea to celebrate the music of Bach. You know, during the pandemic, there is not a musician in this town that did not seek solace in the music of Bach, because the music is so complete unto itself. And the more that you play it, the more you get from it musically, and then instrumentally, it makes you a better player. And I'm really excited about opening with this third partita. It has this preludio that might be the most recognizable movements of all, Bach, and I think it's very catchy. Bach knew it. He even used material from it in 2 cantatas that he wrote later in his life, and quite a few composers after Bach were inspired by this particular movement as well. And then there are 5 dance movements that follow. It's truly like a suite, you know, and all characterized by different rhythms or meters, and the lure being sort of like a short, long intro to the movement. A rustic gavotte, which has like 2 short little notes that go into a nice heavy downbeat feel. It's very fun and country-like. The minuets are probably very familiar to you, that feeling of 3. And the bourrée is a very fun, lively dance. And ending with the gigue gets your arms swinging. It really is a fun way to end the entire partita. And it's just so fun to hear, you know, all of these pieces paired with a different trio sonata. You're going to hear 6 different violinists, and the one constant will be that Todd will always be playing something against those. And I think it's just a marvelous idea. So I hope you enjoy the third partita by J.S. Bach. Thank you so much.
Thank you.